Okay, and give me a moment. I'm going to rename myself
Why?
so everyone knows who I am.
Don't
Okay.
you go by the name of Zoom?
Tim.
Hi, host.
Hi.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I got 3 more people waiting. I got to let them in. Let these 3 people come in.
We have a crowd today.
We have a crowd today.
Good.
Okay, starting the record.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to January 2023. This is the Chicago Computer Society West Side Club meeting, and I'd like to welcome everybody on board. There's a lot of new faces here, which is fantastic. Love it. So our typical format will be, we'll have our open forum, and then normally we'd break and have coffee and pizza and something else, but we're not doing that now. So we're going to go right into our presentation tonight. Bill is going to show us what he's learned about buying a new PC. So that being said, I'd like to open up the floor to questions for the evening. Who has the first question they'd like to ask the group?
I have a question.
Okay, Wayne, you're always good for some good questions.
I was updating my GPS system in my CRV, and I got the right thumb drive. I formatted it, and then went out to the car and initiated it, and came back in and downloaded the map. Well, I downloaded the map. I got about 20% into the download, and it said there was a problem. So I clicked on assistance, and some guy came on and did a whole bunch of things to my computer and ran it again, and boom, it filled the stick, put it in perfect. I went out to the car, put it in, took me 17 minutes to load it. And after that, I tried the GPS and it worked beautiful. So what he did, the first thing was kind of surprising. He put a program on called Network Privacy Shield. And he was allegedly cleaning out my machine. And then I asked him where my advanced system care was, and he said he took it out of the machine. So I thought, gee, maybe he's opening up ports on here or some damn thing. So that was 2 days ago. So I haven't used that computer at all or annexed, joined any of my financial institutions. And I've looked around the internet, and some people suspect it, as apparently it's an outfit out of England. It's called Global Assistance, and they wanted $119 to fix it. And what is that? He told me there was a problem because I was going over Wi-Fi, and that was a weak link in the transmission. And to make a long story short, I checked the files and put in drivers in Shield LLC, Garmin Limited or its subsidiary, put a program in, Microsoft Data Stream, Silicon Lab software, and I'm getting ready to blow it away. Has anybody ever run it? And what I think I may have done, and I should have known better, but when you search for something on the internet, the first one that you come to is a scam. And then after that, you look down and make sure the URL has the name of the company that you're trying to access. And I may have hit the first one and thought it was all right and forgot about that. So in retrospect, I could have asked for trouble. But now I'm wondering, has anybody heard of the Network Privacy Shield? I went looking for the logo on the internet. I saw some that are similar, but that was not the same. I searched for the program, I couldn't find it. So I'm getting ready to blow everything away.
On the search, usually the first thing that pops up are ads. And that's
Yeah, right.
probably what you clicked on.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be a scam where they're trying to get business from you by making you think there is a problem. There probably was no problem. You could be infected. That's an if. And if they're sophisticated, they can compromise the actual hardware.
What I think they did, Tim, is I think they copied the same format as Honda, and they actually initiated that downloading, and they probably had that as a waypoint where it would show the error, so that they could, and then they had a telephone number that popped up to call and get out of it.
Yeah.
So the point is,
basically, if you had typed in the URL directly in your browser that you were going to, and just made one character error, you could have hit a spot just like you got into. It's a phony baloney website the crooks set up to infect you and to try and extract money out of you. I had a CCS member that got a telephone call, got snookered into this stuff, and I had to work several months to get him back about $1,000.
Wow.
Okay, can I get an understanding here, Wayne? So of your timeline or the way this worked is you were downloading the map update for your car.
Yeah, my dashboard kept telling me there was an update for me.
Okay.
So they told me to get a 16 gigabyte drive and go through this procedure. Now, I've uploaded that map twice before. The car is 5 years old, and I think I've updated the maps 3 times. I was supposed to have 5 free updates, but what happened? Well,
so wait, you were downloading the new update, and it failed to do the complete download.
correct.
So what made you want to go and search for a company to help you with this versus going back to whoever supplies you the map?
Well, he was working on my computer to fix the problem.
Wait, why did you go with him in the first place? Why did you call him?
I called him because when the program stopped downloading, when it hit the error point, the screen changed and it gave me access to that person, so I called it. I thought it was a Honda site. And after I'm talking to the guy for a while, I said to myself, Wayne, this is not a Honda site.
That's right.
So anyway, that was it. So he puts the stuff in and he tells me now this program will catch any problem in the future, and the whole works not to touch it. And then I noticed that I said, where is my advanced systems there? He says, I removed it. Oh, and then
There's your first, if I may, Wayne, that is the first flag. No reputable person should, service person should remove something without at least consulting you and letting you know, these are things that that I've run across. Are you okay with that? Let alone somebody who's representing a company. Did you pay for this service?
$119.
You paid $119 on top of whatever. Oh, plus you were supposed to get 5 free, but now you had to pay $120 to get somebody to be able to fix this problem.
Right.
I got some swampland in Arizona. You want to buy it?
Yeah, right. Well, no, apparently my map from Honda is still free. They did not tell me I needed to pay for it. What I did is I had to pay for the guy to fix so I could download it.
Okay, that you should not have incurred in the first place. And I would have suggested you go back to whoever you get the maps from and tell them there's a problem. There probably is a portal, a chat, or send them an email on their website, wherever it is you downloaded that map from. So somehow somebody intervened in this process to make it fail to give you a phone number. Now, if that is the case, and you know for a fact you were at the correct website to start with to do the download, I would contact Honda or whoever runs that particular website and tell them what had happened, because it sounds like their site got spoofed and you were taken somewhere else.
Now, what is that when you have a private line? What's that called? Not VoIP. It's where you have a dedicated line and they encode your transmission so that nobody can get it.
Oh,
What's that?
VPN?
VPN, that's it, VPN. I thought maybe the guy was setting up a VPN.
Well, a VPN is more for like security between you and the internet, because what you're doing is you're masking where you are on the internet, but it doesn't really.
That's exactly what he said.
Okay.
But don't forget now, I live in an assisted living place. So I access the internet over Wi-Fi. I don't have an Ethernet link.
Well, that's okay. Should not be a problem as long as you have a decent connection on Wi-Fi. The fact yours failed coming down over the Wi-Fi is irrelevant, because it's just the vehicle to transport the data. Whether it's coming through a wire or it's coming through the air, it still is the same information. It just might take slower or longer to get to you.
Right. So anyway, the next step is I'm going to clean those 5 programs out of the machine, put advanced system care back in the machine, run advanced system care, and clean the thing up. So I just wonder whether anybody's run into anything similar to that.
Run download and run Malware Bites free to try and detect any bad stuff that they may have put on.
What about if he did a clean install?
Let's put it this way. Like I mentioned earlier, if this was a pro person, they can hide things in your drives, in your printers that are attached by USB, and many other places in the computer. I've already worked with one guy that needed a cybersecurity expert. I wasn't the person, but I know he got compromised like hell. They had an expert that was doing the hacking.
Oh boy.
He actually.
So Wayne, this particular machine that got compromised, is this your primary working machines that you do financial stuff with?
It's my desktop, not the machine I'm on now. I'm on my laptop.
Well, which machine do you use to do your financial information?
My desktop.
Your desktop, and that's the one that got compromised.
Right.
Oh.
Don't do it.
Tenth generation.
Yeah. That's when you were doing your solid work stuff on.
Right. It's probably a year older than it's left. I think I got it in early 2020.
Early 2020. Does anyone want to give Wayne a suggestion on whether, or give an opinion, should he format and restart all over?
Formatting, if he got infected heavily, won't do a thing.
Let's say he didn't get infected heavily, because you really don't know.
Then use the Malware Bites If they got a plain malware put on his system, it may find it and remove it.
Okay. Well,
What about Microsoft's anti-malware program?
That's another
exactly.
option, but that takes longer to run. That's something you download, start up before you go to bed, and maybe by the time you get up in the morning, it's done.
Okay.
What is it? Do I download that from the Microsoft site?
Yes.
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 There's
Okay.
nothing for Windows 10 or Windows 11 from Microsoft that does that.
Oh, that does anti-malware?
There's nothing you can boot externally that does Windows 10 or Windows 11.
Okay.
They have Windows Defender offline, which is built into the operating system. I think you can make a version of that from your Windows that will then boot outside the operating system. For me, that runs 91% through and then quits without reporting. And I've had that happen on 2 different PCs from 2 different manufacturers. So it's a real hit or miss. There are other bootable anti-malware programs. There used to be McAfee Stinger. There are several others. Kaspersky is another one that does have a bootable. I don't know if that's still free. However, if it were me and I knew something had gone wrong during this whole process, I would assume that what was downloaded was not a VPN, but was a remote access program.
I think so too.
I would assume they took over your computer. I would assume they installed hidden malware.
Yeah.
I would completely reformat and reinstall from a known clean backup.
Huh.
But that only works as long as he didn't get heavy infection from a hacker.
Yeah.
Once they heavy infect it, you might as well throw the machine out and get a new one.
If it shows up that it's still doing weird things or you're suspicious that it's still infected, then since it's 5th gen, it's kind of long in the tooth.
And
it's replaceable.
I would also do your financial on the laptop, not on that desktop.
Right.
Right.
I would switch over, or if you're in the market, just buy a new PC and just gradually migrate over to that, starting with your financials.
Did you say you had advanced system care on there?
Yeah.
I did, but he took it off.
Well, what I would do is download the advanced system care onto a thumb drive on your laptop.
Yeah.
And disconnect your desktop from the internet and load that onto it, with it offline, not online, with the internet. And load that advanced system care on and run it without it being hooked up to the internet.
Wow. Interesting.
That, in addition to the antivirus from an external
Right.
Google media, would probably be an excellent way of dealing with this, provided the hardware wasn't infected. But
Repeat that last one, Bob.
That advanced system care from external media, an antivirus from external media, probably Kaspersky, and we are going to assume that the hardware is not infected, but there might be signs that it is. If there are any signs that it is, start getting ready for your next computer.
Mm-hmm. With the advanced system care, when I run it, would that give me any clues about the way it responds?
Wayne, does advanced system care give any clues about possible malware or things that aren't supposed to be there?
Very little,
Right.
but it'll tell them if the stuff got disabled to some extent.
Yeah.
But that's why I say use Malware Bites. It's the best program out there. There's a free version. You have to download it on the laptop, put it on a flash drive, put it on your desktop with no internet connectivity, install it and run it.
Yep.
Yeah, the one disadvantage is that Malware Bites is an installed program. So there are certain kinds of rootkits and bootkits it won't catch. Whereas Kaspersky will catch some of that stuff. So they're both good tools.
Well, there is no one perfect tool for any given thing. Usually you have to have a suite of tools. Each one of them has a different perspective, and
Yeah.
therefore they each see things slightly different. And that's what you got to have. Multiple tools to attack the whole problem.
I think there's another program that's called Easy or EAS something or other. Are you familiar with that, Bob?
Easy
Easy-
US?
Like ease use?
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
but
Ease use
that's
what? They've got like a whole bunch of things, like suites of stuff.
yeah, that's for other kinds of things. They do a lot with system issues, but they're not specifically aimed at getting at the things that happen when you get
Okay.
infected. You'd probably have a little better luck with things like Bellark Advisor, which can also tell a few things about whether or not your security
Right.
is compromised.
So what I would recommend Wayne do almost immediately is turn off the Wi-Fi connectivity of that desktop, because you said everything's on Wi-Fi. So turn off
Right.
your internet access from that desktop.
Okay.
Just completely shut that part down and don't go back on the internet from that machine.
Okay.
Not till you confident that you've solved the problem and addressed it, whether it being these steps that we discussed here, and or you decide to format and reinstall Windows, which you can easily do. You have a license, you don't have to pay for it. You should have a license for every one of your products, including SolidWorks. All that stuff I would just have ready to reload on there. None of it, nothing you're going to do is going to come from the internet from that machine from this point forward. Okay, until you feel confident you solved it.
Now, the next question is the access that I've been doing to financial places. I have 4 places that I deal with money. All 4 of those have the third person identification. You know,
Okay,
where you put in your password, your username, password, and then you get the third party identification where they call your telephone number, give you a code. And
right.
you put that in, and then the bank, can he get through that?
Well, they can't spoof unless they get a hold of your phone and spoof your phone number.
They can
They
spoof
don't
it.
know which institutions you put in 3-factor authentication from. So that means they don't know if you're working with CitiCard and CitiCard is going to call you. They assume that might be the case, but they cannot intercept CitiCard calling your phone unless somehow they modify your phone, right? And
No,
please
no. Remember, he called them. They have
Yeah.
his telephone number from that call.
That's
So they
true.
can spoof him. I would suggest you get on the laptop, go to those institutions, and change your password immediately.
Right,
Good point.
right,
Good point.
right,
Yes.
okay,
Every one of the institutions you work with, change your password for each one of them.
gotcha.
Okay?
Yep,
And
yep,
do it on the laptop, not on your desktop.
right, right,
Right. That desktop does not go online at all until you feel 100% confident it is not infected.
right, right,
All right.
right.
Also, with regard to financial institutions, if they got to your browser and that's the way you're going to connect to a website, when you do any online banking or financial sites, you don't know what they've put in there that will intercept what's going on between your computer through the browser and the website and back again, even if you install a VPN now,
Okay,
because that's part of what you don't know what they've done on that computer.
right,
Does anyone else want to add to this? David, I saw you were shaking your head on something. Do you have anything you want to say? And David, you're good. There you go. Thank you. We can't hear you, David. David, we can't hear you. You're not muted. Must be your microphone source.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was agreeing with you for the most part. We don't know extent of the damage in the corporate environment. When we went into this, we just confiscate the user's machine and tell them it's going to be a couple hours or maybe a day before they'll get it back. And after the initial shock of having their machine taken away, we quarantine the device just like you suggested. However, we're accountable to using the online backup service that we have to restore the user's data files. So I know in the public environment, they don't tend to use online backups. There may be offline backups, but the strategy is basically reload the machine. It's an automated process, and at least in our environment. And that way, they get all their apps that they had back before, but they're not like set up. The users still have to go in and restore the data files. So that's the only way to really be sure that that there's no malware remaining. And yes, social engineering is a serious problem. I am surprised at the high level of people, highly compensated individuals who get involved and tricked into this kind of thing. And or they lend their work machine to their children, and their children are responsible. So, the company can't really penalize them for that. That's just a human factors issue. But but I tell you, it keeps us busy, and that's all I have to say about it. You got to position for the worst, and if you have the backups, then you save the user.
Okay, anyone else? So Wayne, do you have a backup you could go back to? A full
Well, I have
system?
a backup on the, all I really back up is documents and the desktop.
Okay, so you don't have a complete system backup that you could
Correct.
you could go back to. Okay,
Right.
all right. So that option is out of the question that was covered, that David brought up, is that you couldn't go back to a
Right, right.
backup.
Right.
Okay, anyone else want to add on this subject? Okay, thank you. Wayne, that was great. I'm sorry that you ran into this problem. From my 2 cents perspective, don't bother updating those maps for a while.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, and that would be a discussion to have, though, I would go back to the original site that you were clicking on and verify that original site was from Honda. And that it was a Honda link that you were getting that map from, because something sounds fishy here, that you were able to get possibly malware through their site.
But the thing was, at the tail end, after he got all done, they took over my machine, did everything, and then ran the download. Everything was fine. I went out and put it in the car, and then all of a sudden I started having. When he took advanced system care out of the machine, that's when I really got very uneasy.
Right.
So
Okay.
I shut the machine down right away, and I was trying to figure out what I have is all my passwords. I have them in a Excel file, with the file has to have a password to get in and see that sheet, and that sheet is on the desktop. On the desktop, not on the laptop. I'm trying to figure out. I don't. Let's see. I think I have. I think I printed out a copy of it for myself.
Okay, Dennis.
One thing that hits me is if he removed advanced system care, it's maybe because he knows that his his software can be found by advanced system care. In which case, I like Wayne's idea of downloading it on a different machine and putting it back, because why would this guy get rid of it at random unless he knew that his bug could be found by it, is what I'm thinking.
That's exactly my thought, yeah.
Yeah, well,
So I,
advanced
so I-
system care might very well interfere with the remote control software that he was
Yep. Oh, yeah,
downloading, or it would report it.
right. Now, the other thing is, if you run Malware Bites, that'll take advanced system care off.
right,
No,
right.
No, it
I did
won't.
not know that.
No, it
And they
won't.
conflict.
I guarantee you they don't, because I've used malware and advanced system care on umpteen computers for umpteen years. They're both working fine.
Okay.
What program, advanced system care, what other one?
Malware Bites free.
Yep, okay,
They
Right.
play nicely with each other.
It's when you
Okay.
get the trialware or premiumware of Malware Bites, it includes an AV program. That's when you run into conflict.
Well, that's what I had in the past, because it kept
Ah.
taking it off, so
Yeah,
I
the
got
paid
rid of
version. The paid
Yeah.
version might have a conflict.
Yeah. If it's the trialware, you can demote the account from a trialware to a freeware easily, and the freeware works just fine. It'll do everything you
Yeah.
really want it to do. And as
Yeah.
long as you've got an AV program other than Malware Bytes, you don't care about the antivirus. You don't want to pay for the antivirus.
Yeah, that would be in the account tab of the settings
That's
for
correct.
Malware Bytes. You just simply remove that free trial.
Yeah, you just say deactivate, say OK to that with the administrator's password. That turns it into malware free.
Yeah, Malware Bytes free. And that
So
doesn't
now-
conflict.
how big a thumb drive do I need to download advanced system care on the laptop?
Not
very
much.
big.
Next to nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon?
Next to nothing. About 2 to 4 gigabyte drive will take all the software you need to download and put over on to the desktop when the Wi-Fi is turned off.
Now, the laptop has advanced system care on it with all the codes and everything. I can't make a copy of that, can I? Because I think
No, you got to download the loader off of the Advanced System Care website.
Well, how do I put in the codes that I have to run it? I can download it, but
By the
I
way,
have
Well, you got the code on your laptop, right?
yes.
Well, you just go to that code that's on there and copy it. Then when you load it up on your desktop, you put that in.
now here's another thing, Wayne. When it comes to sticking the flash drive from your laptop into the desktop, you have to be suspicious that if there's malware on that desktop, it's going to infect that flash drive. So you cannot stick that back into your laptop until that's completely cleaned out on the desktop and reformat that flash drive.
In other words, once you finish with what you need to do to the PC, you then leave the flash drive in and reformat it.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, Happy New Year, guys.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Sanford, yeah.
Okay. New question, new direction. Wayne.
Well, this last week, my wife, we went to Comcast because she wanted to cut down on the bill. So we got rid of a lot of stuff that we weren't watching, various different programs to cut the bill down. And I get home and all of a sudden I'm having all kinds of internet problems. And so I started calling Comcast up, unplug and plug the modem in, and then the thing is cutting in and out, cutting in and out. I ended up calling up the Netgear people, and I called up. Anyway, I spent hours on the damn phone, and come to find out what happened, they cut the speed in half what we'd been paying for on our internet. So apparently that modem didn't like that when it changed the speed. It got it all garbled up. And I had all kinds of problems with it, cut in and out, and it's finally settled down now. But I ended up having Comcast tech come out, and he ended up putting a whole new line in back out to the box, up to the house. So I don't know. It's at least I'm not getting the speed I used to get.
All right, so what's the question though?
Well, they cut the speed in half and it screwed up the modem.
Okay, so your question is why did that happen?
Anybody else had that kind of problem?
Well, what was your speed before then?
It was 800, now it's 400.
Now it's 400. Still 400 is pretty fast.
Yeah, but I don't get that when I run it on my, with the speed test. I'm getting maybe a couple hundred. Well, and the other thing is I've got 20 some odd devices hooked to the Wi-Fi. And of course the tech went ballistic about that.
Well, it's tough.
Well, I know.
That's normal these days. I
probably
got 30 devices hooked up to my
I know
network.
the modem I think can handle at least 35.
Your Wi-Fi router can handle up to
the router, FiRi router.
Your router can handle, what's it, 256 or 256,000? Can someone help me with that? No one knows. Okay, it's minimum 256 devices. I thought it was something like 256,000 devices, but I could be wrong.
I think it's 254 if I remember right.
All right, it's 254 devices that can be hooked up to your router.
Yeah, that's how many ports. That's how many ports you have.
Right. How many IP addresses that it can address?
Yeah.
And that's based on your subnet that your mask, your IP address, 192.168.1.1. If you change that 1 to a different number, that'll change your SSID. But that also affects how many devices you can hook up there. If someone could correct me on that. Or that's a subnet mask. I don't remember which of the two.
It's a subnet mask. Normally, it's defaulted to 255 for all 4 octets.
Right.
When you change the last octet, it starts changing how many devices you can get IP addresses for. And you take the 256 minus 2 addresses that you cannot assign that have to do with how the internet works. That's why you get 254 maximum.
So therefore, Wayne, as I'm picking up from there, him getting all excited about the fact you had 20 some odd devices hooked up to it, tell him to get over it and move on.
Well, he said that cuts my speed down. Now, in the past, where I'm hooked up, directly wired to the router, I was getting speeds of 700 and something. Now I'm getting like 250.
Well, on your Wi-Fi, you got to understand you have also the
Wi-Fi. I know. I don't get. I wasn't expecting to get. Never did get that high on the Wi-Fi.
What I'm getting at is on the Wi-Fi, each device that you are hooked up to on Wi-Fi depends upon the Wi-Fi hardware card associated with that device as to how much speed it can give you. And you may be limited to that 400.
So they ran you a new cable.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. And
Well,
you didn't have to
at
pay
least
for the tech because he found something and decided to have a new cable ran.
Well, he's telling me, he brought his little device in, he's showing he's getting 1,000 on coming in, but I'm not getting that coming out of my router. So I don't know, maybe I'm gonna have to, I had a problem about a month ago where I'd had some problems and they kept telling me to plug, unplug, unplug, and plug. And it ended up resetting my damn router back to the default, and I had to redo everything. And after that, it ran pretty good up
Okay.
until a week ago when we had this other episode.
You may need to do that again. Dennis?
I'm just curious. I don't understand why would a new cable be a difference?
Now we're talking the cable.
No,
that
the
runs
cable
from-
had nothing to do with the speed. It's
The
when we went
cable's-
in, and the tech that we went to at the store when we changed all the stuff on the television. He didn't tell us that he was cutting the speed down. I didn't find that out until I was talking to the tech on the phone, and she said, "Oh, you're only getting 400." I said, "Well, I didn't realize that they changed it." So when you change the speed, it some way or another interfered with the way the router was working.
Okay. The one thing about the cable that to trying to address Dennis's concern, the cable is from the box that's out in the street
Right.
to his house, not the cable inside his house. We're talking from the street to his house. Those cables are failable because they're exposed to the outside elements. Water can get into the line, it can get kinked, electromagnetic. It is the one place that they know that they can change, and it can affect the delivery from the box to the house. And
Yes.
that's what they were doing there.
And
So
you
by
also
doing
have-
that, they gave you a new shielded cable.
You also have squirrels to worry about. High winds will sometimes loosen the connection out at the street by the fact that it's only wrapped around the main cable. It's not
Ours is all
solidly
buried.
attached.
We've got buried cable.
Oh, you got
in the
buried cable.
backyard.
Okay. All right, Leonard,
all
Leonard's got something. Yes?
I have a Comcast cable also, and and we're getting the internet service. If anybody watches TV a lot, Verizon now is offering an internet service for like $30 per line or something like that, whatever it is. And I was, they're offering that. If you got internet now, or that I'm getting through Comcast, if I decide to switch to Verizon, how does Verizon connect my internet service to my router? Does it come through Comcast?
No, you will have an entirely different setup. Verizon uses fiber optic. And as far as I know, they and one other company are the only places in the United States that sell the modems that you need for that. There's only two companies that make them.
And you usually rent those modems from them.
There is no buy your own option.
How does that come into your house?
It comes in by a fiber optic, which means that it's actually light pulses rather than electrical pulses.
But it's the cable. It still is a cable running from a box.
That would run a new cable. I don't have a overhead cabling outside. It all comes underground to a box. So they would have to lay a new line, fiber optic.
They might have to put in a new line, or they may be able to use the existing line, depending on exactly how they make that last connection.
Okay, I got you.
For one reason or the other, in the past 20 years, they've replaced my underground cable twice.
I've had it 4 times.
Okay, Terry, were you waving or did you have a question?
No, I was going to say, yeah, I switched. I had Uverse, AT&T, and they came out, and I had internet blockage, so I switched to Verizon, and they did hook on, and It's wonderful. So if you're thinking of going to Verizon, I'll recommend it.
Did they run fiber optic to your house?
Well, no, like you said, if they could hook on to whatever I had, they did.
Yeah, sometimes they use copper for that last link.
Yeah, no, they came out, they looked at it, and they just made the switch, and they would have used what I had from AT&T Uverse.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention though, one very major difference for some people between Fios, which is the fiber optic, and Comcast cable, or RCN cable if you get that, or Wide Open West, is that fiber optic has equal upload and download speeds, which means that you would have much faster uploads if you ever need it.
Well, they said I had internet blockage, so the Verizon took care of that. So
I don't know what internet blockage is.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't know what internet blockage is, but obviously there wasn't an issue.
Just call Roto-Rooter. They'll clean out that blockage.
Yeah.
Speaking of roto-rooting, with any underground facilities, you run the risk of problems with, what's it called, aeration, from the landscapers and things like that.
Yes.
And in one case, we had some turf replaced, and they tore the cable up there as well.
Yeah.
The last two houses that we've owned in Naperville and Oakbrook, Comcast is the only provider. So we hired a crew to trench to the DMARC box out in the back of the yard, and we laid 3/4-inch RMC conduit, and then I threaded the RG56 through that really long run of conduit, and they covered it, and we haven't had any issues since then. So you got to do the same thing for fiber optic because that's even more fragile. Just bending that too much is enough to break it. So yeah, I highly recommend for folks that own their properties and they use internet for any commercial purpose to really consider putting the communications in conduit, because no service provider does that. They just stick it like an inch or two under the sod and then hope for the best.
And that's exactly what they do.
Can you use PVC instead of conduit?
Well, as far as if you're asking from a code perspective, I think since it's class 2, it's not high voltage. It doesn't care. But I find, as a matter of practice, my PVC irrigation pipes get cut more than the RMC, and the labor to trench is the same, right? So if you're going to trench something, you might as well put in the heaviest stuff that is feasible and reasonable. So that's why I chose, rigid metal conduit, just because I like twisting it together, I like threading it through, and it doesn't get busted when the trenchers, put it back in the ground. With PVC, you have to be careful if they have any like uneven areas and they don't lay the gravel nice and flat. It can bend the conduit, and then when it gets cold, it'll break. And that in itself won't kill the connection, but now you kind of defeated the purpose that you're trying to serve. So that's what we did. It seems to work. We've never had cable issues since. Quality of signal. If you look in the log into the cable modem and look at the channels and the signal strength and all that, that's our indication of whether everything's working good. So I'll just throw that out there for the folks that own the locations.
Did you put your own conduit in yourself?
I purchased the material. The trenchers dug I told them 12 inches, even though that's not the frost line technically, because you pay by the depth. So I stuck with 12 inches. And so they dug it, and then I told them to come back in a couple days, and I just went through the yard, twisted it, as RMC is threaded, and twisted it, and I bought a bender so that it comes up the side of the house nice. And then when it was done, I threaded it through, with a cable puller with a steel, big
Okay,
steel
I know what you're
wheel.
saying.
Yeah, and I used the same exact cable that Comcast gave me because they laid it on the ground and it was going to get cut by the landscapers next time they mowed. So it was all loose and ready to go. It was just a matter of somebody protecting it. So I really complained to Comcast a lot about this, why they don't offer some better way to do this, dropping at the last drop to the house. But, the same thing with fiber. AT&T does the same thing. And I'm assuming Verizon does too, because it costs money. And most customers, at least in rental properties, they're not going to pay that kind of money to secure their lines. So that's how I did it. The trenchers use Julie to locate the utilities, so they don't. You just have to trust they're not going to break anyone else's.
Did they have to call Julie? Right now, my internet line is coming from a utility box that houses not only internet, but the electrical and a bunch of other things. And I'm thinking about digging a trench. You'd have to have Julie and a professional to come out there to dig that trench. I'm thinking, you just can't put it.
I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but your electrical, first off, Julie's mandatory no matter what, and it doesn't cost anything. So
That's right.
really, that's there. Now you're going to have all these lines on the ground, and you'll notice that your power lines may not necessarily align with your telecom lines. They are marked separately, and they're also buried at different depths. The power has to be buried at like 24 to 36 inches. So there's no way. If you specify 12 inches on your drop, on your trench, then the chances of hitting it vertically is not, great. But also the easement, everything will be in the easement, and there's usually some offset between power and telecom because they don't really want. That's why you have 3 or 6 foot easements. You don't. You need to have a little bit of clearance so that the utilities are not stepping on each other, so to speak. So that helps, but that's how it's set up. Yeah, power is always deeper than telecom.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, talk to the trenchers. They'll know what you're talking about. It's by the foot and how deep. So however many linear feet and how deep, and they'll give you a price. And then I find it cheaper to just put the conduit together myself and thread it. It's RG56. It's easy to work with. The coax cable. And if you put in 3/4 inch, then that's going to allow the fiber optic guys to thread fiber through there at a later time if fiber ever comes through your neighborhood. So I would advise using, the incremental cost of going from 1/2 inch to 3/4 IMC is not that great. Again, the labor.
You're right.
Yeah, so you might as well put the 3/4 inch in. That's what I did. And on the second house, not the first one, but then we moved from the first one, so I don't care about fiber optic there. But as long as it's there, that's the way the AT&T long lines, they put stuff in conduit so they can maintain it and replace it. And it's just unfortunately the way that capitalism is set up. Companies don't want to pay for that, but it makes it much more reliable to not have to keep worrying about that drop being cut or compromised in some way by landscapers. In our case, it was irrigation and the sprinkler company. They're the biggest offenders of cutting our telephone line and our, cable.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's how it goes.
Okay, so that's the outside part of it. But Wayne was also indicating there might be some issues with the inside part of it. So does anybody have experience with when your speed was downgraded? Did that affect your modems and your routers? And what did you have to reset?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I'm because I ended up calling up Netgear because I've only had this thing in like a year, and there was like a month or so ago I had to reset it. So I've been putting off, but I think that's what I'll do.
We've had speed changes.
Wayne, did they offer to turn your speed back up?
Well, I can do it for $10 more a month.
So what happened is when you were cutting the service plans, they cut your rate, they cut your speed.
Right, but they
tell
didn't.
you they were doing
Right.
it.
Well, if they did, they sure as heck didn't tell us that. It wasn't obvious. And when I
Okay.
looked at the bill, then and I didn't realize it. But then when I'm on the tech, the Comcast tech, again trying to figure out what's going on. Well, she said, the tech says, well, you only got 400. And I said, well, I originally had 800. She says, well, she didn't know anything about it because all she knew is what it was currently set at.
Right. So,
But
okay.
that's,
Well,
but anyway,
800 versus 400. I'm assuming you're not a big gamer, right?
no,
And you're not are you watching a lot? I mean,
no,
like 10 4K TVs in the house or
no.
something like that?
So I think I'll just leave it alone.
400 should do just fine. But I would go ahead, like it was suggested, maybe reconfigure your router.
I think I'll just reboot it. Well,
Okay.
actually set it to factory and then go back and reset everything.
Right. And then you'll have to, reset it up, and then your devices will reattach to it.
Right.
As long as you didn't change anything else.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Bob, didn't you say something about I may need to get a new router or modem if I go to fiber optics?
You will need a different type of modem / router because fiber optic uses a different protocol.
Okay.
It does not use the DOCSIS system, like the Motorola DOCSIS systems.
Yeah.
You won't be using those. You have to use something else, and whomever you get your cable, your modem, I'm sorry, whoever you're getting your internet from that is providing you with fiber to your house will be telling you have to use their device, and they will provide it to you for a fee, but they'll send it to you.
Yeah. I think you may have one other option you could buy.
Maybe. I do know that there is in the Chicago market, not the city, but out in the burbs, there is a company called MetroNet that is offering internet fiber optic to the house. And they're very competitive on their pricing, like a lot better pricing than you can get from Comcast.
So, with Comcast, they wanted me to rent their modem.
Right.
Oh, of course.
I've always refused. I've always gone and bought my own because you figure in a year you pay for it,
Yeah, it depends on your speed that you're getting. If you have an old DOCSIS 3.0, those are only good to, please someone clarify for me, is it 500 megabits or something like that? And anything over 500, you should be using a DOCSIS 3.1 to get you up to closer to gigabit service. If you're going to have gigabit, you have to have a DOCSIS 3.1 for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what mine is.
Right. So the interface that goes from your cable provider is coming across on a cable. It's going to go to a cable modem. Then from a cable modem, you're going to have a line that's going to run to your router, and the router handles all the traffic in the house.
Exactly.
Okay. If you go with a fiber optic, they will have the quote unquote cable modem and router as one unit.
Well, that's what I have now.
Right. And
that's what I have now.
And right. If you rent a box from Verizon or Comcast. Sorry, if you rent a box from Comcast, those are usually an all-in-one system. So it's a cable modem and router that's combined into one physical device.
Okay, that's what I have now, but that's my own. I purchased my own.
What did you purchase? You purchase your own what?
My own router modem.
Okay, so you have a cable modem and a router.
Yeah, that's what I have. Okay. I have a Netgear. I bought it a year ago.
Yeah, I have a Netgear.
Okay, so you're not running fiber at your house.
No, I'm not.
Okay, if you're this goes back to where I was saying, if you're going to get fiber up to the house, they will probably rent you an all-in-one device. because they don't let you buy those. I've checked, they do not let you do it.
Okay,
They need control over that device. They want it. Currently, they're not mandated to let you rent them or buy them, so they're not doing it. I don't know. That's kind of details. Okay, let's move on from this subject, unless someone else has something they need to add on it. And okay, Bill, you had a question.
Yeah, I downloaded the last version of Macrium Reflect,
Yes.
and there was a notice in there that as of January 24, they weren't going to support the free version anymore.
Yep.
So I'm
That is
wondering
true.
what other people are now going to be using.
I paid.
Ooh.
How much did you pay?
I had a Black Friday special, so I only paid $20 per license.
Is that a month, a year?
That's for an annual subscription.
$20
Or at least until they come out with version 9, and that's going to be sometime in 2023. And then if it's less than a year since I bought in, they would upgrade me for free to 9.
But now, Bob, you have the full version. You can do everything now that you couldn't do before.
Well, the things that I can do now that I couldn't do before are not things I do. So it's not really for that reason.
But you could have done now with the paid version. You could do versioning. You could do incremental
differential, and you can pluck out individual files from an archive and restore them.
Right, so $20 for a year.
And also, there's Image Guardian, which helps prevent ransomware from getting you.
Right now, Bill, you missed the part where he said Black Friday deal.
I heard it.
It is not $20 a year.
I heard it.
Yeah, I got 4 licenses, which came down to about $20 per license.
Per license, I got it.
And I'm using 2 of those licenses. So I've got 2 I can sell you.
He's got. That's not a bad deal.
No, they're not transferable, unfortunately. They have my email address.
So what about using Windows?
What?
What about using Windows for your backup?
If you like something complicated and where you're not sure of verifying it, yeah.
That's the thing. The backup software in Windows originated in Windows 7, and there is no verification. You have to know how to manually verify that the image is good. Otherwise, it's a crapshoot. It might be okay when you need it. It may be garbage, and then you're out of luck.
Yeah, and there are free alternatives still. Looks like they will be free. You could convert over time. You could convert to using Easiest to Do, Aomi Backer Upper. There is I think another free one that Paragon Backup is another one. Or if you are willing to pay, you could use Acronis True Image, but I don't see any reason to do that if you're going to pay. One thing about Easiest and Aomi, especially Aomi, I don't know if they're going to remain free. Aomi is making noises like they might go over to subscription as well.
More and more software that we've been getting for free is looking at changing to a subscription service. And at some point in time, you may have to pay or do without.
Yeah.
Can you put those in chat, Bob?
Eventually, by the end of the meeting, I can get all those. Because I do know which ones they are, and I can look them up quite quickly.
I just need the names. You don't have to give me.
Oh, the names?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let me just put those down in my notes and then recopy.
Okay.
I did Easiest to Do backup years ago. It wasn't too bad at that time. I assume it's a halfway decent still program. But I decided to go with Macrium Reflect instead. But I'm also looking at Linux tools such as CloneZilla and RescueZilla, as two options that are free and open source programs. And they do have verification capability, but it's a little bit kludgy on both of them. It's not as smooth as Macrium Reflect is.
Yeah, with Clonezilla, if you like working from the command line, it'll be okay. But if you like something where you can actually see a progress bar and can see everything in graphical mode and choose your partitions in graphical mode, Clonezilla itself is not for you, though RescueZilla might do it.
Yeah, I've used the RescueZilla some. I would not say I have validated everything, but as far as how good it is, but you do the backup first, then you have a button there that you click on to do a verification before you get out of the program. But it is graphical. It's called RescueZilla, and it comes from the Linux world, and it works on anything.
If I have Macrium Reflect on my machine prior to January 2024, will it continue to work even without any upgrades after January 24?
Sure, but if Windows makes any changes that make any part of it not work, I have had Windows make some changes that did cause Macrium Reflect temporarily not to work until they updated the program, because VSS service in Windows changed, volume shadow copy, and it messed up the shadow copy service that's used in Macrium Reflect. Currently, the free version would never be fixed for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or if there was some security change.
Bob, can I diverge just for a moment here?
Yeah.
You said that Windows changed shadow copy. Do you understand how or what they changed to it? Because I've run into this issues with this shadow copy.
I think they changed something in the protocol and maybe how things are stored. I don't know the technical aspects of it. All I know is one day it didn't work, and I made a few little changes. Then it did work. There was something having to do with the anti-ransomware in Windows Defender, and I had to put through an exception for that. But that wasn't what the shadow copy situation was. Then Macrium Reflect came out with a patch, and then it did work.
Okay.
And I do know that it was something to do with shadow copy because of the error message that Macrium Reflect was spitting out. It said it was getting hung up on, and there was the Macrium Reflect shadow copy service.
Okay. All right. So back to Macrium Reflect, the fact that it works now, it may continue to work, but it may at some point stop working. They are not going to update the version that is free that you currently have.
Right.
So time is ticking against us. It may continue to work forever, but don't count on it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Windows Home Server and some of these other things that people still use.
I'm still rocking it.
And with a couple of little glitches and gremlins, everything else is still working.
Works beautiful.
And you can still do it. That may happen with Macrium Reflect, but with the way Windows 11 keeps monkeying around with security, memory protection, things of that nature, certificates to access the interior of the kernel, I would not depend on it.
Correct. Gotcha. Okay. Next question, new direction.
Oh, and the alternative names are in chat now.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Next question, new direction. Bob, Bill. Yes, Bill.
Recovery drives.
What about?
I created a recovery drive on both my desktop and my laptop. And then I tried to insert them into the USB port and reboot the machine. And then I didn't get what I expected. Is there something other than when you create the recovery drive and it says finish, and I clicked on that, is there something else you need to do?
you may have a problem with UEFI. You may have to turn the secure boot off in order to let that flash drive boot up. You may have to also access your boot menu to select that drive or go into your BIOS and make the USB drive first item to check out for booting up the computer. So those are a couple things that you may have to look at.
Now, is this Windows 10 we are talking about, or Windows
Yes.
11?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're not running into any of these new TPM2 security key issues. Because Windows 11 Secure Boot has a new wrinkle.
Bill, what did you see when you went and you tried the key out?
yeah, I don't remember. I think it went into normal Windows.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's-
your boot up options, you need to effectively get to your boot options. Someone want to discuss how to get it to boot to a USB drive?
There's about a million ways different computers do it.
I
Post-
thought I had that in the BIOS, but maybe not.
It is in the BIOS.
Yeah.
It's the boot sequence. You have
Yeah,
to make
I know, I've been there.
you have to make USB drive a priority over your internal hard drive.
I understand.
And once
I
you
just
got
thought
that,
I had done that.
Well-
I didn't think about it.
you can find out if that's true. Find out for your make and model of computer what your key is to bring up the boot menu. Sometimes the escape key will work and it'll bring up a boot menu. You select the flash drive first, and then it should boot up off of that unless there's a problem with UEFI.
Yeah, one other thing. Windows Rescue Media and Install Media will never run into secure boot issues. I have never had that happen. They include the Microsoft key, so they get straight through.
Okay.
So practice. You'll get there eventually.
Also, Macrium Reflect Rescue Media, whether it's with the free or the paid edition, they don't care about secure boot. They'll go right through. It's WinRE, WinPE. That's basically Windows.
An option could be when you're doing your boot up on your machine, if you hold down the F12 key, that should bring up your boot option to decide what your source is going to be, whether it's the hard drive or the USB or something else.
I have had computers where it's F7, computers where it's
Yeah.
F10,
That's right.
computers where it's delete, and computers where it's escape.
On some computers,
Yep.
you get into the BIOS, it's the delete key, the F2 key, or F10 key that I know of.
And escape and F7 on some
Escape.
Intel.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we just went down the whole gamut of what keys it could be. It could be anything. It's a matter of who makes your machine.
That's
All
why
right.
I said look at the make and model
Yeah.
and find
Yeah.
out what key actually brings up the boot menu first.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll need to find out that one. And you got to be quick. You got to get it in before things are moving along. The UEFI, that gets in the way because it's not your regular BIOS. You got to intercept that. Anyways,
Yep.
let's
Yeah.
move on. We need to move on. New question, new direction. We got to wrap this up and go on to our presentation. Anything? Nothing. Okay. Bill, you were doing a presentation on buying a new PC, correct?
Not me.
No,
Who was
Harry.
it doing? Oh, was it
Harry.
Harry,
Was it
Harry
Harry?
Nelson.
It's supposed to be
Harry.
Harry.
Harry, we don't see you.
We don't hear him either.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit about me, that's so obvious.
There he is. Harry, can you unmute?
He did.
Yep.
You're on stage.
Okay, Harry, you want to take over?
Well, I haven't done this before, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you go down to your share screen, the little green icon at the bottom,
Yep.
and you click on that, and then you pull up your browser that you had open or whatever it is you want us to see.
Share.
And then pick which particular one you want us to see. Aha, we see where it says Zoom. 5 things you should. New PC setup, okay. Ignite, Ignite.
Get rid of these pictures. Gotta get rid of the pictures here.
By the way, Harry,
If you're talking about what you're seeing from us, you can just drag it down to the bottom or some other out of the way place.
one other tip, Harry. Since you're using Edge, up at the URL bar, there's an item that looks like a book. It's reader mode, and it'll eliminate most of the graphics and formatting that's on the web page and give you clearer text for readability.
Let's see. The immersive reader, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Try that
Okay.
one.
I clicked on that. What did that do? Okay.
So that's just going to give us a good text and no longer the flashy garbage.
Okay, that's good. Anyway, it goes through some various steps of installing you up, just refreshing your memory of things you need to do when you start out with a new machine, installing updates, configuring backups, and other first steps. And that's depending on whether it's a laptop or a desktop, some of the steps may look a little differently, but they still end up doing the same thing. And you also then, the next step would be to update your malware program. If you're using, I tend to use Malware Bites most of the time. I have an antivirus on that I usually put on rather than the one that they give you with a new machine, which I always take off or get rid of if I can possibly stop it. McAfee is a real pain in the butt. And then the next thing you ended up having to do before you really do much of anything is to install of the Windows available updates. Sometimes takes you 2 or 3 runs to get all of those in, depending on how long it's been since the machine you had were put together and when you're starting it up. Let's see what else. There's various options on using updater tools. You can choose to use the free one if you want to take it out, dig one out and try it, or you can let it update through the Windows updates, which for me generally has worked pretty well. Occasionally I find some particular item in there that doesn't seem to work quite as well, and then you have to go to the manufacturer and get the update from them. And then you need a file recovery program, which you can use what Windows gives you, which kind of like Bill said, then you have to, no matter which kind you use, there's always some wrinkles to working out how they work. But you need to do that probably before you really start using the machine overall to have a basis to start with. And then you can sign up for an online backup service, or you can, as you said, buy something like a Macrium and use that, or one of the other machines, other types that are also free ones. I've used various ones. I used to use Acronis for a long time, but then I basically just kind of went back to the Windows and file history and make images. For the most part, I've had pretty good luck with that. And then you're going to go into your control panel, and that's a good place to start digging up the programs you don't want on there or the apps you don't want on the machine that probably came with it. And good time to take them out. You can either get an uninstall program and do it, or you can go in and do it through the settings that are in the machine. There is a tool called PC Decrapifier. I've heard people talk about using it, but I've never used it. I've never really seen how well it works, so I can't recommend it. So that kind of hits the highlights of it, the items on that list. And we have any questions along the line on that one that anybody's got, or add any comments of any kind?
Well, just one thing about PC. Someone else talking?
Use Decrapifier?
I've never used it. I've seen it advertised, but I've never used it, so I'm not sure how it works.
Yeah, I was going to address that.
Go ahead.
PC Decrapifier has worked well for me on computers that came with a lot of pre-installed software. I think with Decrapifier, it does like to know which brand of computer you're using, you bought, or some basic things about your system. Then it'll go through and it'll know what to remove and how to remove it.
Yeah, there have been some things I've been looking up on Decrapifier. They had in the past some issues that caused some people to have a problem. When you're going to use a program like that, you do an absolute verified image backup first. Then run the program. If anything goes wrong, you restore that backup and you're back right where you were before you did the program.
Yeah, I would do that as one of the first items once you get it kind of reasonably set up. Before you start putting much of anything on it, then you got it, then you can see how things work, and if you have a place to go back to, like a refresh mode that they are pretty much offering now most of the time in Windows too. So, okay, there's a couple more things on this, a nerd's checklist on a PC setup and what to do. He goes back into some of the same things, getting rid of junk programs. And he points out using PC Decrapifier. And then he talks about being sure to make a recovery disk, which find out how to do that. And there's a checklist, and I don't think I got it. I was looking for there's been a couple of checklists been put out for starting up a new one and then going through all of the various settings that you want to take down and start up with. There's about a 15-minute video that was about phishing protection using Microsoft Defender SmartScreen. Want to take the time? I think I'll take the time and run that. If in general people don't find any useful things in it or anything that they're not comfortable with, why speak up and we can knock it off. This one comes from Microsoft.
Here we go, full screen.
No sound.
Harry, go up to the very top of the screen. It says view options and have it broadcast the audio.
how it looks.
And help.
SmartScreen is designed to
Yeah.
protect users by clearly identifying dangerous websites with phishing.
Try and change it to full screen.
Let's take a look at how this works. Let's say you receive an email with an attachment that contains a malicious link. You click the document to open the attachment and then accidentally click a malicious link in the document, and SmartScreen helps keep you safe. So Edge offers deep integration with SmartScreen, which uses real-time reputation checks on files and sites. Another key aspect of this technology is that it is part of the Microsoft Intelligent Security Graph. This graph generates unique signals from all of Microsoft's large global assets, as well as our partners, researchers, and law enforcement. And SmartScreen is a key part of this network. So the web is a really scary place. Every day, SmartScreen does about 8 billion lookups, and of those, 2 million end up in blocks of malicious files and content per day. So SmartScreen is able to block all of these malicious files and downloads because it uses real-time protection as well as being a cloud-based service. Now, this is really important because the browser security space moves really quickly. A lot of malicious campaigns will only be around for a few hours or days. So having that cloud-based service really helps us to quickly find out and be able to block this malicious content from loading. And now this is what allows us to be best in test, and I'll go a little bit more into that later. So how does it work? Edge passes relevant information about the site or download to the SmartScreen service, and then we'll start the reputation check. And so what this reputation check does is that it compares that file or download to a dynamic and growing list of known malicious files and downloads. And so all of this, all these service requests are made privately and securely using TLS encryption. And so the service will then return a result of the reputation check. And depending on what that result is, we might show a block if we think that it's dangerous and kind of let the user know that they're in a dangerous spot. The SmartScreen service uses two different protocols, which are aptly named. So the URL rep has reputation on URLs and sites, and then app rep has reputation on files. So the different kinds of threat categories that SmartScreen protects against include phishing, tech support scams, malware, malvertising, and PUA, or potentially unwanted apps. And I'll go into each of these more in detail. Phishing and tech support scam are serviced by URL rep, and so for these, we'll show a full page block for these two categories. And now phishing and tech support scam have become really important, especially recently with the rise of remote work. So we've seen that a lot of malicious campaigns are targeting users that are working remotely and might not be benefiting from the usual corporate security that they have at work. We've also been dealing with an uptick in the number of COVID-19 related scams. So you can see that these two categories, protecting against these, are really important, especially now. URL rep also looks for malware if the page hosts malware, and then app rep is used for any malicious files that try to get downloaded. So we can show a downloads shelf warning as well as a downloads manager warning for these. And enterprises have ways of marking trusted origins to make this a little more efficient. So SmartScreen is also able to protect against malvertising. So if a site is using a malicious advertisement, but the rest of the site is okay, then we'll show the block only on the iframe and leave the rest of the content on the site unaffected. If you've ever noticed mysterious apps or programs downloaded on your computer without your knowledge or any recollection of how they got there, you might have been affected by potentially unwanted apps, or PUA for short. So this is software that comes bundled with things that you actually want and without usually your knowledge. So some of these include things, software that includes ads and surveys, crypto miners, torrents, and any software that evades security on your computer. And so a lot of AV or antivirus aren't able to detect these as malicious because they're not technically considered malicious. We find that a lot of users will just kind of go through the installation wizards and accidentally actually agree to downloading these as part of the bundled software when they go through that installation wizard. And so these PUAs can be really annoying to users and actually affect the performance of their computers, as well as sometimes be malicious. But have no fear. We just released a new PUA, or potentially unwanted apps protection feature, as part of SmartScreen this year. And so this will show a download shelf and downloads manager block when you try to download something that is considered a PUA. So now we're going to go into something that we're super excited to share, which is the results from the recent NSS Labs web browser security test. So I could go on and on about how awesome this feature is, but I'm going to let the numbers speak for themselves. So recently, NSS Labs tested the 4 top browsers and used hundreds of thousands of different phishing and malware samples over the course of a few weeks. And so this report included measurements of protection against new attacks, consistency of protection over time, and how effective the browser protection was overall. So the NSS Labs test was on 2 dimensions. And so we have the breadth of coverage as well as latency to reputation. And so we're able to get these 2 metrics through the overall block rate, which is how many malicious files and sites are protected against, as well as the 0-hour protection rate. So this is how many files and sites are protected against at that 0 hour. And this test found that Microsoft Edge, out of the 4 browsers, offered the most protection, so the highest block rate and the highest 0-hour protection rate from malware. And so this is particularly important, especially that 0-hour protection rate, because users are downloading new files all the time. So things are constantly new to the internet. And so we can't block everything that's new, and attackers know this. So we found that a lot of the attacks tend to happen within the first few hours of a campaign actually being launched. So you can see there that being able to protect quickly in that 0 hour is crucial to making sure that we are protecting users. So we were able to get the same results with phishing as well. So Edge was able to block the most phishing URLs in the test, as well as also provide the highest 0-hour protection. And same thing goes here. A lot of phishing sites will go live, they'll constantly be changing, and these sites tend to be really ephemeral. So being able to block them quickly and block more of them is what really helps us protect our users. So now I'm going to go into how to kind of maximize your existing enterprise security investments and how that can be brought into Edge. So MDATP, or Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection, integrates seamlessly with Microsoft Edge for a great user experience. So the MDATP blocks in other browsers will show up as a little toast at the bottom of your screen. So that can be a little.
How you doing, buddy?
So what we've done with MDATP and Edge now is that you'll see the full screen smart screen block. So that's something that's a little bit more seamless and easy for users to see. Customers are also able to bring in their own custom indicators as well as their own block lists, and these will precede the standard protection. And so this is kind of a way that customers are able to customize their web protection for what they need. This is an example of a screenshot of the MDATP block on Edge, as well as a new scenario that we've introduced this year. So this is the Microsoft Cloud App Security, or MCAS, warning scenario. So this is for customers that want to be able to allow their users to bypass some of these warnings, but have that bypass be audited. And so now it's time for a quick demo. If you're interested in playing around with the different user experiences, here on our SmartScreen demo page, we have test sites and files for the different threats that we protect against. So as an example, we can click on a fake phishing page and we'll be greeted by the SmartScreen block page. Let's also check out the PUA protection, which will lead to a warning when we try to download, as well as a warning in the Downloads Manager. Configuring SmartScreen on Edge is super easy. If your device is managed by your organization and you have SmartScreen policies turned on, then you're going to see a grayed out toggle for both SmartScreen and PUA. However, consumers on Edge will have SmartScreen turned on by default, and they're free to turn SmartScreen on and off, as well as PUA as they'd like within the Edge settings page. I'd also like to note here that in order to use our PUA protection, you have to have SmartScreen turned on. SmartScreen on Edge can be configured through group policy and Intune. So I've copied a few of the SmartScreen policies on Edge here. And so these are things like preventing users from being able to override SmartScreen policies, turning SmartScreen and PUA on by default, and ways of setting up the allow list domains. So this is really helpful for things like internal sites. Our security baselines recommend turning SmartScreen and PUA on, as well as preventing SmartScreen prompt overrides. So now I'm going to give a little sneak peek on what we're working on and what's coming up in the pipeline. So all of the work that we're doing falls into three main buckets: UI improvements, cross-platform efforts, and intelligence improvements. So I'll talk a bit about each of these. So we're doing a lot of UI improvements to really try to put users in control of their browser security. So something that we're working on right now that is actually in public preview is URL domain highlighting on malicious pages. So we've seen that a lot of phishing sites will actually try to take popular sites and put the name of those popular sites within their subdomains. And so what's actually important, though, to note when you look at a URL is that TLD, or top level domain +1. So what we've highlighted here, this is the part of the URL that cannot be spoofed. So in this example, this is our demo page. And so we've set up a few fake phishing pages for you to go play around with. But with here, this fake phishing page is hosted on msft.net. And so if you pretend that this isn't a demo page, if this was a real phishing page, that msft.net is something that would alert you that, hey, this is a little suspicious. This isn't Microsoft.com. And so highlighting that part of the URL really helps you to kind of see that, hey, maybe I'm in a dangerous situation. And so our user studies have found that highlighting this relevant part of the URL actually helps make it more evident to users that they might be in a tough spot. We're also working on a few improvements to our blog pages to make them more intuitive and informative for users, as well as an Edge Security Center, which will be a one-stop shop for all things browser security. As Edge moves to cross-platform, SmartScreen is also making sure to move cross-platform. So we're currently on Windows and Mac, and we use a different web protection service for mobile. So that means that Linux and iOS and Android are going to be coming up soon for SmartScreen. And then finally, we are constantly thinking of new ways to make sure that we block more malicious content faster. And so this means things like getting more signals, faster time to reputation, really just making sure that we get more malicious content blocked at time 0. This also includes work for lightweight client-side models, and this is to really make that real-time protection more effective and efficient. So that's a quick little intro to SmartScreen and what we're doing to improve browser security in Edge. We hope that you're as excited about SmartScreen and browser security as we are. Thank you for your time, and please be sure to turn on SmartScreen and try out our new PUA protection. Thank you.
Okay,
Here's the deal with SEO on Wix.
okay. And the other last thing I had was just a bit of a text file showing PCs, talking about PC setup and getting rid of junk and that decrapify and safeguard your investment, and it encapsulates the overall stuff that you saw for the most part, other than the part of it about Edge. And that would be about it. It's pretty much what I got for you for now.
Okay, that's your presentation?
That was it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Harry. So tell us, you bought this new machine, right?
I did not.
You did not.
Well, along the fourth quarter, my dentist became one of my deductions on my income. So that kind of put off the buying a new machine. I've more or less decided I will probably buy another all-in-one similar to what I have now. And I usually overbuy with everything, and I'll buy the best processor I can get in it, and probably 32 gigs of memory. And I think
that's a lot of RAM.
Well, if I run it for 5 or 6 years, I started out with 8 and the one I got now, and that's barely minimum occasionally, but for the most part it works. And with that kind of machine, it's pretty hard to take it apart and add more memory later if you decide what you got isn't there, so you might as well buy it when you're getting it. And the other thing that I was sort of holding off on, the all-in-ones at Dell and HP, which seem to be my two favorites. I've had a Dell, I've had good service out of it, and I tend to like Dell stuff anyway. They processor that they have as their best 7 in there right now, I think there's an SS on the back end of the number somewhere, and I haven't really gotten a full explanation of why that's in there. But I believe it's a commercial model that ends up with a 12700, which is a little heavier duty. So I was sort of waiting to see if maybe they'll come up with a program where I can buy one with that in it or whatever. But anyway, so I did end up going back on my 8.1 machine and upgrading it to 10, which will get me through another couple of years anyway. So it didn't like the updates. I'm having to fight a few things with True on that, but it's coming through.
Okay.
I'm not out of business, and I got two. Besides the laptop that I've got and the other backup machine that I've got at home downstairs that runs Windows 10 also. So I haven't really lost anything in the process. I end up having to reinstall some software, but outside of that, everything's working out pretty well. So that's kind of where I'm at, all told.
Would anyone like to augment or add to Harry's presentation on things they would do with a new PC? Wayne?
Well, that's basically what I've done. I did get a new PC for Christmas. It's got 100 gigabyte SSD, and I think it's got 12 megabytes or gigabytes of RAM. I got it through Costco. It's one of the things that was on sale.
You mean it's got a terabyte of SSD, not 100 gigs?
Yeah. Okay. 1 terabyte.
Okay, that's a little bit of a difference here.
Right, yeah.
100 gigs doesn't get you very far.
No, I know.
Okay.
So anyway, but that's what I'm running on right at the moment. And of course, it's just got home Microsoft Home on it right now. I was thinking of maybe upgrading to the Pro.
Did you have Pro on the machine that you had before?
Yeah, I've got another HP. The other one that I have, I've had Pro on there. I've had Pro on 10, and it's a 10.
You might get away with taking that same number for the Pro from your old one and try putting it in as an upgrade to turn your 11 into a Pro. I was able to do that when I went from 7 to 8.1. I was able to carry the Pro forward without any extra charge.
Yeah, well, that's what happened earlier. But I looked at the site that you can get for like 39 or 40 bucks and get the upgrade, for Pro.
Right.
From who?
I don't know. It's a website. I saw that. I don't remember now where I saw it, but I
Okay,
looking up.
let me give you an asterisk there. You have to read the fine print on those sites because I've seen those, and those are usually OEM, and it's not an upgrade. It's a complete fresh install.
Right. Right.
So, you know, you have to be just be aware of that. Okay. If you're okay with a fresh install and blowing out what you got, I don't know about those sites if they're good, but you could try it.
From what I read in that site, it said that actually you just put in the new serial number, whatever it is,
Right.
and uploads.
Anyone
Yes.
else want to add?
Yeah, so if people are getting new PCs, I suppose you are used to using your old PC and you like all the software on there and everything. How do people in this group figure out what software you will need to have on your new PC? And how do you keep track of all that software? How do you make your lists?
Good question.
Each machine, whenever I put new software on it, like if I had to buy new software, I usually put everything that I buy, I put in that box with, it's kind of a new machine box. So I try to keep up with that. So at least if I have to go back and dig it out, I need to know which pile to look in first.
Yeah, so Harry, you're dealing with software you paid for.
Right.
So how do you manage your license keys? How do you know which ones go with which?
Well, I use, what's the other web program that you can download that gives you, well, you had SuMo, I think you mentioned the last time. Is one that will give you.
SuMo does not track license keys. SuMo does not. However, this was what I was getting at.
Yeah.
SuMo is not just an updater program. It is capable of exporting into .csv, which becomes a spreadsheet format, and it lists everything it detected on your PC.
Right.
The trouble is it may be detecting things that are only pieces of programs or pieces of big program suites. So you also have to have that extra column that says where it detected everything. And then you can pick out which are the major titles from that spreadsheet and carry it over to a new PC, put the spreadsheet on, then you know what to download. But you don't have a record of your license keys. So you have
Bell doesn't Bell do that?
Yeah,
Bell actually shows you all the keys and the license and all.
Mm-hmm.
There are some keys it can show. There are some keys it can't. It probably won't show all the keys to everything you'll see in that SuMo list. Everything you paid for that's on that list. It might, but it won't always. So you do want to keep your own little list or database or a spreadsheet of your license keys for each installed piece of software. Mm-hmm. Also, you may need new license keys for a new computer, depending.
Bill?
Yeah, one of the things I've done over the years, I have a lot of favorite utilities that are mostly all free. And I put their executable files on a jump drive in a folder with the names of each of the programs that I'm using. And I find that has been advantageous over the years.
That's a good idea.
Tim?
If you want a little simple way of dealing with it, and SuMo that Bob brought up is potentially one of them. Another one is called patchmypc.com/home. It's a free program. It will update mostly free software, but occasionally you have some software in the list that will require paying some kind of a fee for. But it will be an updater. You can run that once a month, and it'll update anything it finds out there. It's an excellent program that'll even APCUG and other groups are promoting, so to speak.
So, Tim, can Patch My PC, I export a list or I compile a list of what it's got so that you can transfer that list to a new PC?
Not that I'm aware of offhand, but I may not have spotted that feature. I can try and show the program.
Yeah.
Hang loose.
It would be nice if it could.
Hang loose. I gotta see if I can
Because
find...
a lot of programs have the ability to export a config or an INI file, which then you can apply to the program when you install it on a new PC, and it'll know what you had on the old PC, and it could pull that in.
Oh, wait a minute.
SuMo
Could you
doesn't
put
do
that
that.
software into the chat that you just mentioned?
Hang loose for a minute. One thing at a time.
Tim, that would be Patch My PC.
What?
It's what Tim mentioned was patchmypc.com/home.
Could you chat that?
I will do that since Tim seems to be a little busy right now.
Yeah, a little bit. All right. Now, let's see here.
All right.
Okay, let's see if I can share this. If I've got
That
it
would
up.
be Patch My PC.
I
And
got that. Okay, patchmypc.com. Okay, thanks, Bob.
Hang on just a minute. I got to get out of that. And, get
and
back in.
let me get this SuMo thing here.
Yeah, I got it. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Okay, we have any other last things? Ooh,
shoot.
We got somebody, what's going on? I missed this.
Hang loose.
Tim's putting something up, I think.
Oh.
There we go.
No, we must be experiencing this all fine text stuff. I can't even read this.
Whoa.
What's the resolution you're running at? Like 4K?
Are you joking?
No, I can't even see this stuff. It's so small.
Well, try some glasses. Maybe you're different.
I got bionic eyes.
Right now, this thing deleted my program, and I'm not sure why. Started loading it, and then it deleted it.
Hate it when that happens.
Well, I hate it too, but I've got back doors.
No comment.
It just takes time getting to them.
Okay, I also have the download link for SuMo in the chat.
Unable to connect. Oh, shoot. I know why. I got a firewall that's blocking me. Hang on.
In other words, you outsmarted yourself.
No, it's a safety, and I forgot to turn it off.
Yep.
Malware Bites.
Okay, now I got to get back into that and try loading it again. That's what happened.
Yeah, normally it's a security feature, but right now it's a bug.
Well, it's a pain in the butt when I forget it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Come on. Here we go. Starting to load. Come on up. Don't be shy. Come on. Here we go. All right. This is a Patch My PC 4.5.0.1. It tells me right now everything in red may have an update, but out of 4 of them here, it says I only have 3 that'll download now. The other one is not available yet.
Yeah, yes.
So you come down here and I can say, click here and update the 3 that it does have right now. I can go through this entire list, put check marks against anything, including, as an example, advanced system care that was brought up early in the meeting, and many other pieces of software, including Malware Bites, but it does a straight install. You do not have a file in your download folder. So you're always downloading a fresh, clean copy, and then when you got everything selected, you hit to do the update, and it goes through automatically, downloads, installs them. The one thing you have to do, I'm going to run this because it won't take very long. It's already downloaded one. It's installing it. It's a silent install. No intervention on your part. And the only thing you have to watch for is look through the list when it's done. If it says successful, great. If it shows a code and a number, that means it did not install it. And the reason it didn't install it can vary widely, but it can be like my firewall, if I got it left on. It can be some kind of file corruption, etc., etc. But generally speaking, it's a good little program. There's one in here that I have been using just in the last about 2 months that I would also recommend, if this darn thing will stop jumping on me, in the list here. The first one right at the top here, it's called Privazer, currently 4.0.61. Boy, when you set that sucker up, it gets rid of a lot of trash in your system that protects your security. It will, at the end, will take and generate a process by which it will go through all your blank, unused, available area to write new files or modified files, and clear all that information out so that it's not recoverable. Okay, all 3 of these installed in the time that we were here, and all of them were successfully installed. So I had no errors. Privazer is, I think I got that in here too. Hang loose for a minute. You'll note this is Windows 11, but it's, yeah, here we go. This is Privazer. It's a sweet little program from what I'm seeing so far. Wait a minute, we got somebody else talking at the moment, or I'm picking up audio. I show an indication, Wayne, that your audio is on. At any rate, this is the program. There's an update already available. So that's could be the one that it didn't update in Patch My PC. But I'm gonna wait on that one and get it later. So right now I'm gonna click on scan. I've already done the setup steps, and it's gonna go through all this stuff here I have it save the registry so I can deal with that. And I'm going to start the scan. We're not going to get through it because I don't. It's already 9 o'clock. But it goes through, finds all the stuff, and it's found next to nothing because I ran it recently. You hit the clean button, it's done. Now it's going through. This is the secure cleanup. This is going through your free space to take and generate an unrecoverable situation if somebody stole your machine or totally copied an image of it. It may get information that's in formerly deleted files. You can change this modify here to go from a low priority to a max priority. You can also put a check mark here against boost, and it'll do greater speed on processing through, depending on the horsepower of your machine. But those are two recent ones that I've been playing with for 2-3 months. And I got the Patch My PC from APCUG, Judy Tallur, and the Privazer I knew about years ago, forgot about the program, and I only recently stumbled across it again and have been using it on a number of my machines of late, and it cleans out a lot of stuff that a hacker might love to get its hands on.
Does it clean out your passwords?
No.
Okay.
My password, now here's the thing. Passwords in the browser, I don't go for that. I want a password manager.
Well, yes, besides that wasn't what I asked you.
Well, your passwords are in the password manager. You don't worry about it.
Okay, but if they're in your browser, does it clear out your browser?
I don't use it, so I can't answer that. And I don't trust it in the browser. I think that's dumb.
Well, but that's you and not everybody else.
So they don't know any better. The other people don't know better.
Tim, take a breath. Okay. Let's we've demonstrated this. We need to conclude this meeting. Is there anything else you need to add? Anyone else want to add any augmentations to Harry's presentation?
Just that some of the security features that were demoed for Edge in the video are enterprise only.
Okay, gotcha. Even though I saw that in your chat notes. Okay, Harry did a great job. Dennis, you have a question or something?
The last thing that Harry brought up was like a doc file. What was that doc file? Is that something we can get, or what would?
Oh, the text file? Yeah, I'll see if I can figure out a way to get it in the chat.
It looked like it was displaying as a PDF.
You do a copy paste of the PDF into the chat to everyone.
Here we go. Let's see here.
Was that just your presentation, Harry, as a text file, or what was that?
It was just sort of a synopsis of everything else that was there, other than the part about the screen part. It's a combination of the reminders, so it's probably the only one really that you need. Let's see. I gotta figure out how to move this.
Something says that's CSV. Comma separated value.
Yeah, it's just one of the export forms that both Patch My PC and SuMo can do.
Got it.
Yeah.
And they both can export their lists.
Okay.
But the nice thing about Patch
CSV file can be opened up in Excel.
Yeah, it's a spreadsheet file.
Yeah, it's a spreadsheet. It's dealt with billions of those.
And Patch My PC can also export its .ini file, so that when you put it onto a new PC, it'll just begin doing exactly what you wanted it to. You don't have to reconfigure it.
Okay, let me conclude this part of the meeting, and I will bring up what next month's meeting is. Terry Moy. Terry, are you here?
No, it looks like he dropped out.
Terry Moy dropped out. I should have asked him earlier before he dropped out. He is going to go over tax law changes for 2023 that we all really need to know. So make sure you drink a good stiff cup of coffee or have a good Coke or something. And let's dive right into that. Harry, were you able to figure this out?
No, I haven't figured out how to get it in the chat yet.
You just
You
paste
should be
it
able to
into
just
the
paste
chat.
it. Well,
Okay.
you haven't figured out how to get into chat or get it?
No, how to get the drag that PDF over into it.
I don't think
Okay.
you can drag it. You have to do a copy paste.
Copy
Okay.
it up in Explorer and then paste it.
See if I can get back to it here a minute.
Yeah, you can do a copy paste, or if it's a file on your PC, open chat in the lower left corner. There's a pencil, which is format. Next to that, there's a piece of paper, which is file.
Okay, I got that.
And that's what you use to upload a file.
Okay, now. From my computer.
Yeah, it'll be from your computer.
All right. Here.
When you get it in the message box, hit enter.
Nope, didn't pick it up.
My most successful location to pick it up from is the desktop.
Ooh, knocking
Someone's knocking at the door. Time to end the meeting.
Knocking on the door. Somebody's ringing the bell.
Will
All right,
they be?
can you guys see this now? Here, let me stop my. Harry, we're still waiting for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone can see this little Dell here. This is like a 14-inch Dell Inspiron, a neighbor of mine, an old neighbor of mine, handed that to me and asked me to clean it up. So this particular Dell, since we're on new PCs, this is an extremely low power PC. It is actually a Celeron. I think this is a Celeron dual core, and it's got 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of eMMC storage.
That's right.
This is the real slow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And but this thing works okay. I'm not opposed to this. This would be a laptop that you would buy if you were traveling and you just needed something to surf, or you're at home and you only need to surf the internet and retrieve and send emails. I would not use this for anything. You may be able to get away with some online gaming, like playing slot machines or solitaire or something like that, but definitely nothing more than that. They asked me to clean it up, and what happened is the thing was stuck in Windows 1709, which is old, very old version of Windows 10. And so what I did is I just did a clean install of Windows.
That's all you
Windows
can
10
do.
using the most current version. I downloaded Media Creation Tool and downloaded it from another machine and then put it on here and booted it and loaded it all in. And one of the first things I did prior to this was go to Device Manager and look at all the drivers that were installed on it for every one of the attached devices. And I took screenshots or pictures actually with my cell phone, and then compared them after I did a full clean install. And I will say that the Windows default install collected and installed 100% of everything that was in there prior to this. Meaning all the device drivers all worked. The webcam, the touchpad, the screen display, everything was the same as what Dell had initially put in. So that made me feel confident that I was on the right track. This thing works just fine. I have eliminated all the garbage that was in there, the unknown stuff, whether somebody had gone to some nefarious websites or something like that, they're all gone. It's a fresh new install. And this 32 gig EMC has now 7 gigs remaining.
That's all you can do on little lightweight computers like that is you got to do clean installs. You cannot do an upgrade. There's not enough space.
And that's the way it worked. And I will say that this is a test. I've not done that before in a long time, and it worked just flawlessly. No problems whatsoever. Windows put in itself, and then it did all the updates, and then all the gyrations, and boom, it's gone. It's done. So I have a happy neighbor with the Dell Inspiron. It's got all these updates. It's a nice little light thing. I'd be tempted to get something just as a traveling PC.
Yeah,
the files in chat for you guys.
It is?
I don't see it. Who'd you send it to?
Did you hit enter?
I did. It shows up in chat when I look at it.
You didn't send it to everybody then.
Well, I said to everyone, and right below that, it says there's a new PC PDF.
Okay, well, you're the only one who got it. None of us got it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to try it again. Unless it's a big file.
No, it's 198 kilobytes.
That's not that big.
It's tiny.
You just got to make sure it goes to everybody when you paste it in and hit enter.
Everyone.
Apparently Zoom didn't like what he gave it to send, which can happen.
Sometimes Zoom doesn't like the location.
Right. Do we have... Oh, so for March, since I got this group here, March, I was thinking that we'd have a quote-unquote panel discussion on IoT devices that people have in their homes, what they use them for, and how many devices they have hooked up to them. So I'd like to get a volunteers of people that are using IoT devices in their house, multiple things. IoT devices can be anywhere from your Ring video doorbell to thermometers that could be monitoring something in the house. So I'd like to see a hand of anybody that would like to be part of this. Wayne is going to be one. And anyone else? Tim?
I don't have anything.
And David, do you have any IoTs that you want to discuss?
Yeah, I've heard of them. And I'm getting close to having to expand my net mask in order to get more than 256 devices. But how many people are you looking for on this panel?
Oh, maybe 4 people.
Okay. Yeah, as long as I have company, I don't have to defend myself.
Okay. No. There's really, this is more like, this is what I've got. This is what I do. This is why I'm doing it. Yeah. And then I would prefer that we, if someone already discussed, let's say a Ring or Video or Arlo or something like that, devices, the next person will kind of just gloss over it and say, yeah, I've got that too. And this is what else I'm using. So that's kind of, yeah, we don't need to rehash why we're using the same things, but that's more or less what I was saying, like a panel. So it's just not one person doing a presentation. This will be for March, though. So David, I'm going to put you down on the panel. So we got 3. Me too. because I got a lot of some good amount of IoTs, and boy, do I struggle with them all the time. Anyone else want to put their hands up that's using IoTs? Nobody. Well, we got to start here. Okay. All right. Thank you. And we still haven't seen Harry send that file. So
could I ask?
Harry can't seem to be able to do it. He'll figure it out, and maybe we'll send it out in an email blast or something.
And can I be heard?
Oh, Tom. Yes.
Okay. IoT. I don't understand what you're asking about. Something like smartwatches?
Internet of Things devices. That would be, again, like a Ring video doorbell, a Nest thermostat. Things that are installed in your home or apartment that are connected to your home network that are tools, an appliance. An appliance is basically it. Even a toaster can be an IoT.
Okay, I guess I'll have to say, no, I can't help you. I was going to talk to you about smartwatches that well, I wear a watch all the time, but I use it to interact with my phone and with, what can I say? I use it because of epilepsy. If I have a fall of some type, it will call the police department.
Right. But we're not talking about personal care devices that are
fine.
That we wear. Or wearables.
No
Wearables is not our discussion. That could be a presentation for another month. Okay, since we're not able to get Harry's thing, I'm going to conclude tonight's meeting.
It says the file's in a compose box, but why won't it move it into the chat?
Recording stopped.